New
the best
year.
of the best.
Yes,
Is the one,
absolutely.
the only. Mary Kay Cabot. What's up, Mary Kay?
Mary Kay.
Hey guys,
Mary
how
Kay,
you doing?
this is unbelievable. We're doing great. Thank you for joining us. I got to say, obviously it's a long way to go. We can't declare the Browns a great defense based on September. You got to do it when it matters. But based on all the sample size we have is 3 games, the turnaround from this defense being trash, not bad, trash last year, to being the best defense in football by a lot through 3 weeks is remarkable. How much of it is Schwartz? How much of it is the talent they added?
I think it's a mix of those two things. I think that Jim Schwartz has installed a system that lets these guys play with their hair on fire. It keeps it simple. They know their assignments. The communication has been good. But let's also just temper the enthusiasm just a slight bit.
Sure.
I really do believe that this defense, it's sustainable. I think it's going to be an amazing defense throughout the entire season. I think it's going to be hard for teams to move the ball on the Cleveland Browns. But let's also try to pump the brakes just the tiniest bit. And remember, they've got Lamar Jackson coming to town.
That's right.
They played Joe Burrow when he had a calf injury and was not ready at all to play football, and he played it in the rain. Then they played the Steelers on just a night that started off really horribly for them, and it just wasn't a night that was conducive to great football by the Cleveland Browns, and the defense was able to get some things done in that game. And did a really nice job. But then you go to, you move on to Ryan Tannehill. You've got Derrick Henry, who's lost a step. You've got DeAndre Hopkins. Now, I don't mean to throw a bunch of water on this defense because I think it's going to be a great defense. But before we declare them the 1985 Bears, we have to remember, again, Lamar Jackson's coming into town. Kyle Shanahan is going to be looking for every possible way to exploit any little tiny chink that he can find in this defense. Everybody is going to be trying to see what they can do to move the ball on these guys. So I think once we get to mid-November, we'll have a really good idea what the deal is going to be in terms of just how dominant this group is going to be. But right now it looks pretty darn good.
There you go.
Thank you.
You got to move earlier.
No, because I had told you I was going next.
Okay.
Anyways, Mary Kay, get off me. Mary Kay, G knew. What is his status for this upcoming week of this game?
Good question.
I think he has a chance. It's not a serious injury, but you might also want to just let him get to the bye week and heal up. It's a hyperextended elbow, and it's not a long-term thing. But if you can maybe get through this game and let him heal up through the bye week, maybe that's the more prudent way to go about it. So we'll have to see when we get out there tomorrow how Greg is doing. Of course, you want him in this game if you can have him. But as of right now, it's probably just a little bit iffy.
We talked about the Dolphins offense, and I know you're a little busy on Sundays, so you don't get a chance to check out what's going on around the league. But obviously what that Dolphins offense did on Sunday is record-setting. We had a discussion at the top of the show, and we know that the sample size is small. It's only 3 games. But which unit has been more impressive to you so far? Is it the Dolphins offense or the Browns defense?
Oh, that's a really great question. I would have to say, for right now, I'm going to go with the Browns defense because they have looked amazing over 3 games. But, we do, of course, have to remember 3 games is a really, really small sample size. I mean, what if they had played, of course, they didn't, but I mean, what if they had played, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and Tua. I mean, so we just don't know. We don't know yet for sure. But as of right now, fans should go ahead and get really, really excited about this Browns defense. I think there's still so much more to come. I mean, Z hasn't really gotten rolling yet, and some of the linebackers are just starting to come into their own. I think Obo's got a lot more where that comes from. So I'm going to go with the Browns defense for now, but I just want everybody to remember that not every game is going to be against the Titans.
Mary Kay, are you worried about the running game so far? What we've seen from Ford and Kareem Hunt. Do you think Kareem Hunt is going to be a guy that they mix more in there, or do you think they might have to go look and bring somebody else in?
Well, I think they should be okay. This was a really, really good run defense, a very stout defensive front. And Mike Vrabel came in here really determined to stop that run, even though Nick Chubb wasn't in the game. I mean, he knew that if he tried to take that away, that they could maybe somehow manage a passing game that was still trying to get up and running. But I think they can accomplish the running game. I think, let's remember, that was Kareem Hunt's first game back after a long, long layoff. He hasn't had any training camp. He hadn't had any really practices with the Browns except for a couple. Jerome Ford missed most of training camp with a hamstring injury. I think he's still ramping up. I think they can get the ground game accomplished. If you lose, say, for instance, a Myles Garrett, you're not going to go out and find somebody that can get 16 sacks for you. But in terms of the running game, and this is one of the reasons why running backs don't get paid, you can find a way to run the ball, especially behind this offensive line. It'll probably be by committee. It will probably have to be a little bit creative. It will be a work in progress. But, when you factor in Jerome, Kareem, and then you've got Elijah Moore and Deshaun Watson running the ball, I think they will have a pretty robust ground game going forward.
Mary Kay, what do you think led to Deshaun Watson's success? Because up until last Sunday, he's been struggling in Cleveland. So what did you see that led him to have the performance that he had?
Well, first of all, I feel like Deshaun's situation is so unique in the NFL that we almost have to kind of throw away most of last season and chalk it up to an 11-game suspension and a 700-day layoff, and him coming back to a team that really wasn't ready for him either. They were all, locked into Jacoby Brissett, and it was just a weird situation and a difficult situation for everybody involved. So I don't really look at that too much and lump it in with his body of work. I think you need to start fresh with this season because it's a brand new scheme, a brand new system, and all kinds of new personnel that he's working with. He and Kevin are just getting to know each other, just getting to learn each other. I think that it was a gross overreaction last week for everyone to be writing off Deshaun Watson, calling him finished, washed up, he can't play anymore. I thought it was insanity and ridiculous. I really did. I mean, it was really one game that we were talking about because you can't really judge him on the Bengals game. I mean, if Joe Burrow had been out there slinging it around and Deshaun was horrible that game, maybe. But that game was wrecked by the rain. So I really think that it was one game that everybody was focusing on, and he did not do well in that game. And here's why. He did not maintain his composure. He lost his cool. He lost his head. He pressed. He forced. He did all those things. And that's what he didn't do against the Titans. He maintained his composure, and he stayed in the game. And they also don't have a very good pass defense, and that helps.
Mary Kay, I want to give you, through 3 games, there's 4 players on the Browns that stand out to me as guys who have either done nothing or been disappointments or not very good in the past, or in DeJuan Jones' case, he's a rookie, so not a lot was expected, late-round pick. DeJuan Jones, Dustin Hopkins, of course, JOK, and Grant Delpit. Of those 4 guys who I think have been very impressive so far, unexpectedly to some degree, who are you most impressed with?
That's a really good premise and a good question. You know what? Right now, I'm going to go with DeJuan Jones. I've watched DeJuan Jones almost grow up before my very eyes. Okay, I stood out there. I watched him throw up on the very first day of rookie mini camp. That was fun for all of us. But I talked to him about that. I talked to him all about that and sort of did, like a little bit of a deep dive into his early experience with the Cleveland Browns, and I loved talking to him. He's a fascinating person and a really, really good guy. Browns fans are going to end up loving him. I mean, he's just a really, really cool individual. And so I'm going to go with DeJuan. Each week he comes up the learning curve a little bit more. He wants to be great. He is chasing the legacy of Joe Thomas. That's a pretty tall order, but that's what he's trying to do. And if that's where you're aiming, then you're going to do every single thing that you need to do to be really good at this. He's coming along, and I think that he deserves a ton of credit.
Go Bucks.
We just showed the PFF grades. Mikey, he had the highest PFF grade, right?
On the offensive line, correct.
On the offensive line, that's impressive. So if we're going to go kind of guys that took a step forward, I want to ask you about a guy that has been on a milk carton, and we just keep waiting and waiting and waiting, and he keeps getting more money and more money and more money, and that's David Njoku. what's going on?
Well, I think in the early going here, they've had to pivot a little bit with some of their offense. In losing two-time All-Pro right tackle Jack Conklin, when you put a DeJuan in there, you have to give him some more chipping help. So I think David has probably stayed in as a blocker more than he normally would have if they had just their full complement on offensive line. They've had to pivot there a little bit. But I think David will get untracked here soon. I think they'll figure out a way to unlock him and get him the ball and help him become, what he can be. It didn't help Matters at all that he fumbled the ball away in Pittsburgh. That's the kind of stuff that you cannot do. When you get your chances, you have to make the most of them. You have to shine in those biggest and brightest moments. So he's going to have to be more consistent when it comes to that. But he's an unselfish player these days. I mean, he will just go out there and block and do whatever you need him to do. And I think as they go along, again, this offense is a work in progress, and everyone needs to remember that. Kevin Stefanski is learning how to call the game for this new collection of players, and they are learning him, including, Deshaun and Kevin trying to figure each other out. So I think as we move forward, you'll see David Njoku become more of a weapon, and he should be. I mean, his tight ends coach told us last week, he should never be covered. No one should ever be able to cover him. And even when he is covered, he's big enough to just go up and grab that football, to snatch that ball, to high point it, get it out of the air, and overwhelm a smaller defender. So I think he's going to get his targets. I think he's going to get his catches, and he darn well better get those touchdowns I keep saying he's going to have.
All right. I like that answer. That's a very good answer. Thank you.
Mary Kay, this next dude, I just don't understand. I know he's really good. Amari Cooper is awesome. But he just I don't understand. He's one of the most underrated guys in the league. When you see him out there, he doesn't wear anything flashy. He doesn't have gloves. I think he wears lineman shoes and cleats. And his pads are big. They're clunky. He's not very fast. But when it comes to game time, nobody can guard him. And I think he's probably one of the most underrated receivers that the Browns have ever had, just because of the lack of pass catchers. I think he's one of the best the Browns wear a Browns uniform. How does Amari Cooper just kind of fly under the radar for the Browns?
You know what, Garrett, I got to tell you, I agree with you 100%. When you watch Amari make a catch, it's unbelievable. I mean, he made a few catches the other day where he was completely covered. And the thing about Amari is he always, he's known for his route running, but he tried to remind everybody last year, hey, I make the contested catch too. And I think we saw some of that versus the Titans, where he was blanketed and he sort of just snatched that ball and made sure that it was his. And I do think that he's an underrated receiver. I actually think that he has Hall of Fame potential and Hall of Fame talent. I think he flies under the radar because he's quiet. Like you said, he's not super flashy. He doesn't have the diva receiver vibe going that so many of them have. He just kind of quietly goes out there and does his job. He's very cerebral. I mean, he plays chess. He's just he's just almost like a scholar instead of a receiver. And and I think that he and Deshaun Watson are starting to become dynamite together. And if these two really can keep it going, then I think Amari will put himself on the NFL map without even really trying.
Mary Kay, I'm gonna get you out here. I'm gonna get you out on this question right here, and it's not Browns related, but I've been working with the UCSS since day one. Okay. Oh my God! Here we go. And they asking me to give up my chair in the middle of a show to Jerry Ferrara. Do you think that's right? Do you think that I should give up my chair?
You're moving chairs. You're not asking you to leave the set.
We're asking the Hall of Famer right now. We're asking the Hall of Famer.
Okay.
Should I move my chair and move to the end where nobody can really see me, or should he just be over there at the end? What do you think?
And wait, who's coming in to take your chair again?
Did you watch? Were you an Entourage fan? The show Entourage, or no?
No, I did not watch that. I had to
He's
catch
an
up.
actor from the show
Actor
Entourage.
Jerry Ferrara.
Okay.
He's a big deal.
Yeah.
I would just add another. Don't you have another chair? I would
Yes,
put a stool.
yes,
chair,
yes,
Mary
we
Kay.
do.
Yeah,
But
he left that part out, Mary Kay. We're just asking him to move down a few chairs.
No.
He's still
so
going to be
Jerry,
on
our
set.
guest, can sit in the middle.
We want Jerry to sit in the middle.
Mary Kay's going to decide now.
okay,
Tyvis.
listen, tell it like it is, Mary Kay.
Tyvis
Who
is
should,
out of control
who
right
should
now.
sit in the middle?
Tyvis, I'm just going to mute your damn mic if you keep complaining about this. We have that power.
Put your
You're
guest-
moving
put your
chairs. It is
guest
what it
in the
is.
middle. put your guest in the middle and let him shine.
Boom.
There you
Yes,
go.
thank you. And
See?
so it is said,
See?
and so it will be
You're
done.
I expect
Mary
you
Kay
better.
Cabot showing her
Thank you,
intelligence
Mary
once
Kay.
again.
I-
Mary Kay, thank you.
I think Tyvis is taking the petty title away from me today.
He's Petty LaBull today.
Petty
Listen,
Latal-
I'm not sitting in the middle. I mean, I'm not sitting in the end.
no,
It's not
it's
happening.
Petty LaPowell.
No,
Oh, you're sitting at the end.
No, he's tit for tat Tyvis.
leaving.